Welcome back to Easing the Reader, a Wheel of Time reread. We are really in the age of Wheel of Time now, after the TV show. I think you need to breathe on it or something like that before you show it. So it will...
Got it. Because I've just put it right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Chris Meyerholdman. With me, I have David Green. As always, he is holding up the book that we are talking about right now, which is The Shadow Rising. But before we do jump into that, David, is there any, now that the show is done for now?
It's done.
Do you have any news?
We've cancelled it. Any news about what in particular?
About the TV show or about the world of Wheel of Time? Is there anything?
No, I don't think so. I've taken a little bit of a Twitter and social media break for the last couple of weeks just to kind of get some work done myself. So I think it's all quiet on the Eastern Front, seeing as it's been filmed in Prague. But there's been a few. I saw like when I watch a few YouTube videos and what have you, there's been a few kind of like rumors of casting of people of characters that have been maybe merged together, like Elias, Hurin, and Julian may have been merged all together, but for sure it seems like Elias is going to be picking up with Perrin from Faldara and teaching him the ways of the wolf.
But is merging Hurin and Elias. Yeah. Is that a good? I mean, does that work?
I think Hurin can just be merged with a number of people. To be honest,
he can just be merged with anybody, really.
Yeah, because I think it's one of those things as well where it was even in the book itself in The Great Hunt, Perrin basically takes over his role by using his wolf belt. When they get separated and he goes off with Rand and starts going a bit crazy and becoming a servant and calling Rand my lord. Perrin assumes his role in the hunt for the Horn anyway. So he's kind of in a way he's kind of redundant in his own book that he's in to an extent, right? Because you've got someone who can do the same thing as him already. That's one of the characters. And so what he really needs really is, and in an adaptation, you don't want to just bring in someone that's got this. We already have that with Min, where she's got this power that no one else has, right? So you don't want to have a second person that has the power that no one else has, when it's very similar to being able to sniff and smell. Anyway,
big sniffer.
So I think what it sounds like is going to be happening is that there's a character now. I can't remember his name now, but he's a British actor that's been in a lot of like British stuff, like a lot of the people in Wheel of Time are. A lot of these kind of level of that, where they are in their careers and stuff. And he is going to be. It sounds like it's going to be Elias, but he's also going to be taking on the role of Hurin in a certain way as well. But he's going to be sticking with Perrin and giving him that kind of teaching of how to be a wolf. If that means so, maybe Julian will appear in it as well, because it sounds again as well like from how the end of the season finished, and a few of the interviews that came out straight away afterwards from Rafe Judkins and everything is that season 2 and 3 are being merged quite a lot. Some characters are going to be following the season 2 storylines, and some characters are going to be following the season 3 storylines. So it sounds like Julian will, if he is going to appear, he would appear in season 3, but whether because again, he's another one who is a prime candidate to be merged with someone, because there's a few characters that do appear that do a similar kind of role as he does. So, so I don't know, but yeah, it's been kind of quiet. I was expecting something to come out in January, like maybe a big casting announcement of this and that, but maybe because I think they're back filming again now.
Yeah,
because they took a break for Christmas, but no, nothing really. It's been
and I've as I told you, I think we spoke about this last week, or if it was the beginning of the week, I think, when that at least in the communities that I've been a part of, and especially the Swedish fantasy communities, a lot of people have kind of turned from disliking the show to like really liking it.
Mm.
But also it's like today I think I saw somebody was commenting because they had announced the name of Lord of the Rings. I think it was like the Lord of the Rings.
The Rings of Power, is it? The Rings of
Yeah,
Power. Yeah.
they did that like yesterday or whatever it was, and then somebody commented like, "Oh man, that's if they do what they did to the Wheel of Time, then this show is gonna suck."
Yeah, well, but you know what that means? They mean if they think they're going to put women in it,
Bro.
which is basically what they mean. No, I think it's done really well for Amazon by the looks of it, and by the sounds of it as well. In a lot of the ratings that were coming out, it's top for its whole run. It was topping a lot of like kind of interaction and people mentioning it charts, but even above like Hawkeye, which was running at the same time as it.
Mhm.
And when Witcher season 2 came in, it was topping that. And then in the actual TV ratings things, it's held its own against again the likes of Hawkeye and Witcher 2, which is a great accomplishment, because even though it is on Amazon, and Amazon is probably the biggest company in the world, the penetration rate for the streaming isn't anywhere near as high as Netflix or
No.
Disney. And when you look at like kind of the rankings for these things, it's the top 10 is generally always the top 8 is 8 of them is Netflix and 2 of them is Disney, and the 2 Disney ones is usually whatever is the latest MCU show
Yeah.
and the Mandalorian, right? Because I mean Netflix has been around for longer. They've led the way on streaming. Disney have these 2 big properties that appeal to so many people, and Amazon, like they've been kind of chipping away. The biggest property that they had before this was The Boys, which
Yeah. And it's interesting because The Boys in itself wasn't a very big property at all.
yeah, exactly. So
Because
done
it's
really well.
dynamite, and I mean, not many people
But then
actually read
again,
The Boys.
yeah, but yeah, so it was the biggest, and then even then season 2, like Wheel of Time figures absolutely dwarfed the Boys. So it's done really, really well for them. Hopefully it means that, and it seems like from interviews that it's getting a increase in budget. I'd like to see longer episodes, and I think that was the thing that from the Lord of the Rings announcement there the other day, that the first 2 episodes is going to be the pilot. So episode 1 and 2 is the pilots, and it's a 3-hour movie split into 2. And I'd like to see that with Wheel of Time. Like, it would be great to get a 90-minute first episode and a 90-minute last episode each season. I think it would really benefit from it. An increase in budget as well, like, because there's things about the Wheel of Time, particularly the first 3 books, that doesn't translate well to making a TV show. And one of those things is when you look at Game of Thrones, and a lot of people kind of talk about like, oh, the Wheel of Time budget was bigger than season 1 of Game of Thrones. It was, but when you go back to inflation and you adjust, it's not that big of a difference. And the thing that Game of Thrones had going for it is that you had 3 major storylines, and they all took place in the same in 3 locations. No one moved from them. It was Winterfell, King's Landing, and the Dothraki Plains. And anywhere else then was just basically a forest, right? Which is so they had these sets, and those sets then they kept using Winterfell throughout the entire season run. They kept using King's Landing. You go back to watch the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones in particular, so many scenes took place of just 2 people stood in front of the Iron Throne talking, and it was cheap to do, right?
Yeah.
And then Wheel of Time doesn't really have that in its structure. Now, the show tried to do that by moving everyone to meet up in Avalon, because it's like, we can use this set and reuse it for the next however many years, right? So it's in, after the first season, it's in every single book, so they can use it. But the nature of the first 3 books is that it moves from place to place to place all of the time, and it's not until, and we're starting to see that now in the Shadow Rising, where it's not going to be, there's only going to be in the Shadow Rising, there's basically 3 major settings, right? Like, it's an everything, and it's easy then just to build the sets, and then the sets are done. So Wheel of Time had that against it, which I think by merging books 2 and 3 together for season 2 and get to the Shadow Rising material as quickly as possible will mean that they're able to spend their money a little bit better. But no, I think it's done really, really well for them, and I think if Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power comes out before Wheel of Time season 2, which I think it will do, because like we know when that one's coming out, it's coming out at the start of September. It's going to be eight episodes, so that'll be wrapped up by mid-October. If Wheel of Time season 2 does November, December again, I think that'll be a good thing, because Ring of Power is going to draw a lot of people to get Amazon Prime, which I think Wheel of Time did as well to an extent, but it's not Lord of the Rings, right? And Lord of the Rings has.
No.
I mean, I'm not even talking about the books in general here. Like, I'm talking more about the overall franchise. Like, there's people that were kids that grew up, that have grown up watching the 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
It's part of their life. It's part of something that they love. Some of them, a vast majority of them, probably have never read the books. They don't want to. It's all about the TV. It's all about the movies. So those people will come and get Amazon Prime for this, and hopefully they stick around then and watch Wheel of Time, which I think is the plan. Like, I think that's going to be.
I think so, because what I reacted to when I was back home in the States was that there was like no Wheel of Time fandom anywhere. I mean, there's still Game of Thrones fandom. I mean, there's still shirts, and there's still quotes, and there's still whatever, and we have yet to see any of that.
Yeah, the lack of the lack of merchandise has been really weird, and I think that was something that people were talking about before the season finished. Was like, why is there like nothing? Why can you not? And I know, like, my wife, like, for Christmas, was like, actually said it to me on Christmas Day. She was like, I was looking for Wheel of Time stuff for you, but I could find nothing. Right.
And then, I mean, and the interesting part is, even, I mean, there was more Wheel of Time merch before, when you had like the role playing game, and you had the CDs, and you had the video game.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's weird. They've basically brought it all in back to it, because they're obviously planning, and obviously with COVID and everything, that's obviously had and even with a TV show, you can see the knock-on effect. I mean, the two major things, because we're going to do an episode that's basically just a TV show, but I was generally of the opinion that each episode got better than the last, and it was building.
I'll agree.
And it really hit its stride in episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then that's when they shut down for COVID, and it was a big delay, and then they came back, and Barney Harris didn't come back for it. And I think 7 was a really, really good episode. I think it was probably one of the best ones, because they could kind of hide the storylines they were going to use with Barney and change them a little bit. But then in 8, they couldn't hide from it anymore, and they had to the hasty rewrites that they had to do for Barney not coming back and for COVID, because obviously they had to alter the plans, because they were going to go to the Canary Islands to film in the Blight, and they're going to do other things, and they had to build a set for it, basically. They had to do this and then what have you. I think there's some aspects of episode 8 that were really, really good, and I think there's some aspects of it that weren't quite as good as the previous episodes that had come before it. But those ones were the ones that were majorly impacted, I think, from rewrites that were last minute rewrites. I was watching a thing with Brandon Sanderson and Matt Hatch, where they were watching episode 8 together, and Brandon Sanderson was talking, and he was basically like, it was when they came back to do 7 and 8, it was panic stations, because basically he didn't go into any reasons or anything, but from what it sounded like was that they were fully expecting Barney Harris to be there, and he wasn't. And it was like, we have to rewrite this. And then with like plans where they had to change, they could only have a certain amount of people on set, and they could only have a certain amount of extras, and they could only do this and this. That obviously affected a lot of stuff as well. So no, it was optimistic for season 2. I enjoyed season 1. I'd probably give it 7.5, 8 out of 10 or something like that. I'd say 7 was probably the best episode, maybe 4. But I'm optimistic for season 2, because I think the material's stronger. I'm looking forward to seeing how they merge the 2 seasons, the 2 books. And I think they'll probably have learned a lot the only problem is, or not the problem, the only worry that I have, and I said this ages ago, is that it was in a really strange position of having the second season greenlit, written, and in production before anyone had seen the first season, and there was any kind of feedback from fans, and if anyone had
Yeah,
reacted to anything. I know there's always going to be people that are review bombing stuff because people have been doing it for The Witcher season 2, which actually has a lower Rotten Tomato user score than Wheel of Time does because people just lost their minds over some aspects of it. But I think in general there was some feedback across the board, which was the episodes needed to be longer. Just having 57-minute episodes every single time. Some of
yeah.
them, it's on streaming. Some of them can be an hour and 5 minutes. Some of them can be.
Oh yeah, no, it's weird that they would do that. We just finished watching the new season or the last season of Dexter, and reacted to that too. That they were, I mean, Dexter's on Showtime. It also streams, and it
Yeah,
was like the final episode of Dexter New Blood was like the highest rated, like for any show in a long time. But there also, I wish they could have been longer because it felt like they're so abruptly ended, and I felt that sometimes in the Wheel of Time. It's
yeah.
like,
The Wheel of Time
you
did
know,
something that there was, and it was even scene to scene at some points where you could see that there was something that was cut out of it in between a scene, like just a little kind of establishing shot, or maybe like there was a bit where they go into Tavalon, Matt and Rand, and they go into a pub that was called the Light's Blessing, which was Basil Gill's pub, where it's been moved to. But he's not mentioned it. You see him in the background in the next episode. But they basically just walk in from the street and then they're in the room. And normally, like you'd have that thing where it'd be like walk into the inn, establish the inn, maybe have
yeah.
and that was probably shot, but they cut it out, and it was all that kind of stuff where it was just like these little scenes that would have been like an extra 30 seconds here and there, just in between other things, just to kind of give it a little bit of time to breathe and everything. But then again, like that feedback I think has been heard, and it's been quite loud and everything, and that can be taken on board. I mean, that stuff will be shot, and they can, when it gets to the editing the episodes, they can look at it then, I suppose,
And I think in time we'll see Funko Pop Wheel of Time figures.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because they get their hands into everything.
Yeah, I hope so. Like it is strange, and I know you can. I think COVID is as good a reason as anything.
Probably,
but also as well, I think maybe Amazon were kind of like, let's just see how popular this is going to be first, and again, you have to kind of always have a quantifier next to that, as like for Amazon, this has been wildly popular and successful.
Yeah.
It's not been as watched as this Witcher season 2, but that's because there's millions more people that have Netflix, and casual TV watchers have already watched Witcher season 1. They know what it is. So yeah, I think it's in a good place, and I think if it comes out after the Rings of Power, there'll be a bigger audience. That's going to break all of Amazon's records without a doubt, and hopefully Wheel of Time can piggyback on it, like Robert Jordan did with Lord of the Rings himself.
Oh yeah. Oh, one thing that one has to remember too is that less and less Americans are getting linear TV.
Yeah.
And they get Fire Sticks, and usually to use a Fire Stick, I don't know if you have Fire Sticks, and we don't have them here in Sweden, but
we do. Yeah, we do have them there. Yeah.
You kind of have to. Don't you have to have like a Prime account in order to use them?
If you want to use them legally, yes.
Yeah.
But
there'll be a bigger chance that people end up watching, I think, down the line Wheel of Time, because
I think so. Yeah, I think a lot of people. I think it'll do. Like, I think Lord Rings of Power is going to do really, really well, and then a lot of those people will go and watch Wheel of Time season 1 afterwards, and then we'll see. But yeah, most people over here that have Fire Sticks want to use them for illegal reasons, usually so they can watch sport.
Sports. Well, anyway, if Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, could get figurines, they're horrible, by the way. If you haven't seen them, they're completely horrible. But then at least Wheel of Time should be able to get something.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. That's what I'm looking forward to for season 2 more than anything else. Is that I want some merchandise.
You want a loyal
I would
figure.
like. I would like a loyal. What one would I like? I'd like a Matt with a dagger. That'd be good. Um, I'd like a Lan in a hot tub with his little
Yeah,
smiling face.
that scene, I think.
Yeah, I'd like that whole. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Both of them in the hot tub together with his little smile on his face. When she's heating up his the hot tub for him. Um,
Is that your favorite part
that
of the
was
sh-
that
in
was
the
my favorite part of the entire show. No, my favorite part again. We'll talk more when we do the actual episode thing, but obviously the Blood Snow opening was pretty spectacular. And it was one of those things as well where it made where the COVID restrictions just helped because it made it more of an uh, intimate battle between like
Yeah,
Rand's pregnant mother who's trying to give birth and a few soldiers. Because if there was more people on it, I think it would have been lost a little bit.
yeah.
You know, but like yeah, it looked great and it was she was fantastic as well. The actress, I mean, she's a stunt woman from the Czech Republic, and you know she was not even the stunts that she was doing, but the actual acting was fantastic. She was brilliant. She was really really good. Really liked all the stuff at the Eye of the World. I liked the changes to the Eye of the World as well. How
Mm.
it was, you know, this intrigue about it, about what the actual place was, and I liked the changes to the seals. How the seals are like it seems like they're going to be defined points, which I think is better visually because you can do more with that. I think in the future. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I really really liked about it. The whole Logain episode was brilliant as well.
I
And he,
love Logan.
yeah, and he was great.
It's a good. I think it's a good character, and I think you'd be. I mean, even if I would have loved to see Billy Zane as Logan, because that's my inner Logan. This is what I see in front of me is a like very hairy
Young Billy
Billy Zane.
Zane, not old Billy Zane as he is
No,
now.
young. Probably the Phantom Billy Zane.
Phantom Billy Zane. Yeah, that would have been good. But yeah, no, like every scene that Logan was in, he was really good, and that scene when he was with Swan Sanche was great as well. When he just wants to make her angry, so she kills him. Basically, was good. I thought all the Fielders were really good. I think they got better as it went on, with the exception of Perrin's actor, which I think he was the weakest. But I don't know. I was talking to a friend about this, and he was kind of in the same point of he was kind of same as me. He was kind of like, yeah, he thought he was the kind of weakest. But then I also was like, he's my least favorite character out of all the
Yeah,
main characters. It's like, does that color it? I'm not really too sure.
I don't. You know, I mean, obviously, Perrin is my least favorite character too, but I got the sensation, and we should really be saving this for the later episode. But I got the feeling that I just see he played the role a little bit maybe too urban. I got a feeling that he should have been in an episode of "You Can't Pay, We'll Take It Away."
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it was a bit, and this is just, and again, this is why I don't know if it's because of the character pairing or what, but he just felt a little bit too one note for me.
Mm.
Like you know, with the other actors, especially the Fielder ones, obviously you expect more range from experienced actors that have been around, like Rosamund Pike, and she's an Oscar
Yeah,
winner, she's going to have range. But I felt like, you know, like Rand, for example, he was very kind of one note at the start because I think he
yeah,
was meant to be because he wanted to. But as it progressed and he got into like episode 7 and 8 in particular, you saw his range. You saw how he could hold his own in one-on-one scenes with like Rosamund Pike and Fares and all these kind of people. I didn't really kind of get that with um, Marcus Rutherford, who plays Perrin. But then again, I don't know if that is because of the character. So like, you know, I'm hoping he because of the way they're going to do season 2, and it sounds like he is going to be taking the lead for the hunt for the Horn. which I think is a good move actually, because it gives him more things to do. Hopefully, we'll see more of his range and what he can do. Because I think that's one of the things as well. Because I saw a lot of this, like a lot of these people that I think were determined that they weren't going to like the show anyway from years ago when it was first announced, because it was going to be the books, and a lot of them were like, oh, like Perrin didn't really get much development, and this, and it's like he doesn't get any development in book one anyway. Like
No.
he's just there along for the ride. He has his little bit with the White Cloaks where you get the thing with the wolves, and then he's basically not. He's just mentioned them for the rest of the book. The first book is all about Rand, like
Yeah.
and so is the second book to a certain extent.
It should be called All About Rand.
Yeah, it could be, and then the third book is the first book where you don't get it all from Rand's point of view, but it's still all about Rand. Like it's called The Dragon Reborn. People are looking for Rand, and all the characters are all reacting to that. They're reacting to looking for something. It's not until this book really where you start to get this book, The Shadow Rising, what we're going to be talking about now, it's not until where you kind of get these characters to kind of go off on their own and to do and get some real development. So yeah, I'm happy. I was happy with it, and watched it with my wife, who really enjoyed it.
That's good.
It was good. She was really invested in the whole who was the dragon side of it. She had a different opinion at the end of each episode, which was, to me, it was working. It was the right decision to do, because a lot of people that didn't know the books, that worked for them. It kept them watching and it kept them speculating, and it turned out to be the person that it was in the books. Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew? Well, speaking of that, we're going to talk about. We'll start by talking about Rand in chapter 9, decisions, because we had just previously seen Elaine trying to get Rand to kiss her.
Yes,
but as you would, obviously, and now he's in chapter 9. He's talking to the Tyrian. Is that how we say it? Tyrian.
I would always say Tyrian, yeah, but who knows?
Who knows? Well, the High Lords and thing anyway, and about his role as dragon and the prophecies of the dragon.
Yes, he's been looking up into all of them, hasn't he?
Yeah, so because isn't there, like, as I told you, I read this before Christmas. Isn't there like a long tirade about the different variances in prophecies, or at least how much there is about him?
Yeah, he talks about that quite a bit, and he also threatens that if the High Lords don't do what he wants or sort out, he's going to hang them as well. And then he'll send two High Lords every day, 2 by 2, if they don't come to an agreement, which is one way of dealing with problems.
It is what made Andrew Jackson such a great president. That's what he did.
And like, obviously before this bit as well, we check in with, like, everyone's in this chapter. Everyone gets a POV in this chapter. We check in with Matt, and no one wants to
play
cards with him again. So he goes to the port district and to play that stuff, but he feels like there's something holding him back from leaving. Like he wants to leave, and something is not going to go.
Well, obviously nobody wants to play cards with him after the incident of.
That is right. That is right. So Perrin is just Perrin about the place for a little while, looking for rumors for the sounds of things. He's trying to get Fail to clear off.
Is because I've seen. I mean, is Fail? Is she like a very disliked character?
Yeah.
In the fandom,
she's probably there's 2 characters that everyone seems to hate. Not everyone, but the two popular, I'd say least popular characters are Gawain and Fail.
And is it because Fail is going to do something later? Because I mean, I have nothing against her right now.
Really,
I think she's fine.
She doesn't do anything like outrageous or anything like that. It's just the way she is. I think this book is where you either, if you still like Fail after this book, then you're on board with her for the end.
Okay.
If you don't like her in this book, then that is it. Really, that's
Because I think it was John from What Up, when she was introduced, he reacted, he said something, or and that made me think that, yeah, she's not a very good
yeah.
character.
She's not well thought of. So yeah, I mean, we get to see Egwene and Nynaeve have been spending time with the Black Ajah, with
Yeah.
Joya and Amigo. Their plot to try and free Mazrim Team. That was what was their plot. And there's a device that they want to use that's in a place called Tanchico.
Yes.
They keep mentioning. And then Elaine has just been hanging around with Rand. So yeah, so Rand is he's going on about the prophecies.
Yeah.
And
And then Celine shows up.
Celine, your favorite, she's back.
My favorite.
Back, baby.
She's back, and she is not who we thought she was.
Did you not think she was Lanfear at all? Were you just like, I don't know?
No, I don't know, because that wasn't really. I don't know. It's difficult to say now in retrospect if I thought about that or not. I mean, because we've already seen Lanfear. We saw Lanfear in the dream.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Lanfear looks like a more how does he describe it now? Like a more mature version.
Yeah, that's what an adult
more
version.
Beautiful the version of Celine. So yeah, I think it was I think again, it's hard to say because it was so long ago since I read it, but I think from meeting Celine, I thought she was either Black Ajah or a Forsaken immediately.
Well, I knew that she was something because she had way too much knowledge about stuff, and she was trying to. And we were talking about her as being like a whisperer, just trying to get Rand to do things that he doesn't want to do. Yes. And I mean, obviously, as a Forsaken, that's kind of her job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a little bit of a back and forth, and Rand
they have a little bit of a to do, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She blocks, she shields him.
Yeah. And it's interesting because he gets to try out his power both in this chapter and then the next chapter. He gets to kind of flex his one power muscles.
He does, and as well as in this, but obviously the TV show is fast tracking this bit a little bit where he was able to see Luce Ferrin's meeting with the Dark One in the Eye of the World. He says that to her that she always loved power, and they're both shocked by this. So his memories are kind of bleeding over a little bit.
Yeah, but he can't get the job done, and a grey man comes in instead.
Bloody grey man, yeah. He comes in and he kills him with his flaming sword. And
a flaming sword it's always, because I remember when I played Dungeons and Dragons, there was a person who had a flaming sword, and I never really understood how effective a flaming sword actually is.
Yeah, it's pretty effective, and visually it's nice as well.
Yeah, well,
visually it looks good, and he needs it because, well, he doesn't need it, and he doesn't really at all, because like he can just, as this next chapter proves, he can do pretty much whatever he wants with the power. If he actually knew how to use it, he would be able to do all kinds of stuff with it. But his first instinct is to always fight with a sword, basically.
Yeah, because that's what Van has taught him. And then he can't, and this one part I can't remember exactly why I wrote this, but he can't make himself kill Lanfear.
Yes, he can't kill a woman.
No, that's right. That's how it is.
Yeah,
he can't kill a woman, which is going to be troublesome for him if that's going to be his attitude.
It's going to be troublesome for him, and it's one of those things. I think it's one of those things that needs to be updated a little bit as well with the TV show, because it's kind of like, it's that kind of oh, women are gentle folk and they're nice and beautiful, and I can't bring myself to hurt one of the worst people that I've ever walked on the face of the earth because she's a woman, right? So because yeah, because Lanfear, when you she's a Forsaken, so she's not nice, but some of the
No,
stuff Forsaken did during the War of Power was quite despicable, and Lanfear was one of the worst.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's one of those things that it needs to be looked at for
yeah. And then is at the end of the chapter, right?
That's the end.
Basic
He runs out the door, and basically there's a big party going on outside. Party of death.
body of death. Then we get to the stone stands,
Yeah,
where a group of Trollocs have penetrated the stone of Tyr.
they have. It's falling to everyone now. Like before,
Yeah,
this, no one had ever breached its walls, and now everyone is doing it.
everybody gets to go into the stone of Tyr.
Yeah,
So this echoes a little bit of what we've seen before, uh, which I think earlier would have been a little bit annoying. And we talked about the girls and how they were kidnapped, and then they were kidnapped again. Like the circular. But I mean, also I can accept it in a different way, because I just figured, well, it's the wheel of time. That's basically what happens.
yeah,
The same thing goes over and over again.
yeah,
And in a book, as we said before, that is less, I think, annoying than it would be if you were doing it in a TV show.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Rand fights them
He
with his
does.
blade of Sidene.
He does, but then he sees that there's Trollocs fighting other Trollocs as well,
Yeah,
and Midral fighting Midral, which is just everyone just wants to fight, really. Everyone's just they're well up for a fight, and they don't care who they're fighting with.
and then, I mean, there is a lot of action in these chapters that are interesting and somewhat confusing.
Yeah,
And Rand just goes straight into it, and he uses Calendar too, just to just butcher people or Trollocs.
yeah, she does. I mean, because yeah, so he's fighting with people, and Lanfear appears again, and basically he
Yeah,
starts saying like, "What are you doing with this sword? Like, you can just stop all this right away." And he slams her against the wall with the one power. And she's saying that people are any male channeler can use calendar, so people are obviously coming to get that, aren't they? So because she's just all about him, she's all about either getting the horn or getting calendar. She just wants him to do one of these two things.
she wanted to have a horn or a sword.
Yeah, but her manipulation works, and he goes off and gets the calendar and uses it. His madness and the taint magnet, or the corruption as it is in the TV show,
Yeah,
magnifies through it, and he basically just sends lightning throughout the whole of the stone tier that kills every single shadow spawn that's there. And then,
and then
and
Moraine shows up.
yeah. So what do you think about this? So he tries to bring a little girl back to
Yeah,
life, and he's convinced that he can do it with Calendar. Um,
becomes
do
a
you,
little bit of a
do you
Star
think
Wars.
this is like an obsession kind of thing, or do you think it's the start of his madness? Like
I think
obviously,
it's the start of his madness. As I said, I think it's a little bit of an Anakin Skywalker
right?
kind of deal. I don't know if George Lucas read The Shadow Rising or not,
Yeah,
but I mean, it's definitely this whole desperation part of it. You're all powerful, but then there are certain things that you cannot do, and it frustrates you, and it
yeah,
makes you crazy. And I think it's a very strong point, and I like it. You know, I guess I liked it in Star Wars as well,
yeah.
because that was the beginning of the fall of Anakin Skywalker. Really, this
It was,
conquering death.
it was, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so it's a nice kind of mirror with that. And then he's kind of I like the image of like he's like, how did they get in? And like they're all on grain barges coming down the river. So these strikes just on grain barges. I just love the image of it. But I mean, him and Moraine are quite kind of level with each other. He surprisingly tells her that like Lanfear came to see him,
Yeah,
and she's kind
but
of like,
hasn't he always been very candid with her in a way, or maybe not in the beginning, but he's always been kind of like
yeah, sometimes he is and sometimes he isn't. It depends what kind of mood that he's in. But yeah, he's more surprised by Moraine's lack of surprise about it. She's
yeah.
kind of, you need training before you can deal with her. And
It's like it's Lanfear. She shows up. She's bound to show up.
he's like, whatever. Um, and Rand promises to tell everyone his plans tomorrow.
It's a very interesting end to like a cliffhanger tomorrow.
Tomorrow. But then we don't get to it straight away because we're back with Egwene, and she's
She's exploring Tanchico.
in the world of dreams. Yeah,
Yes, in the Talan Riod.
Teleram Riyadh.
Telerian Riod.
Yeah, very Irish.
Hmm?
Like Aaron is an Irish word.
Yeah. Is it interesting? Well, I think both you and I think saw that on Facebook where somebody was saying like that they were tired of fantasy writers always raping Irish culture.
Yeah,
It's like okay,
yeah, and they're on about the actual. It was a review of
yeah,
the
that's what it was, right?
one, and it was someone talking about it as if it had only just happened. Like it was from an Irish reviewer, like who'd obviously not paid any attention to fantasy, and and because she actually specifically said Amazon Prime, Amazon. Jeff, no, I think she said Jeff Bezos. Like, it's like these books came out 30 odd years ago, right? But yeah, so she's hanging about in Sanchico.
Yeah.
Elaine and Naveen, Naniva there, and Avienda are all together. They're all there. They're all back, baby. And
They're quite
the
the team. They've
yeah,
become quite the team.
they have become the scene. But then Egwene starts having more dreams. So she sees, and I've written down the dreams that she has. Right, so she sees Rand as tall as a mountain, walking through cities, crushing buildings, people screaming like ants, which is kind of, there's no real subtext to that. She just thinks that Rand's going to destroy everything.
Yeah, very Godzilla of him.
Yeah, we see Rand in chains and he was screaming. We
Yeah.
see Rand building a wall with him on one side and her on the other. We see Aiel fighting and killing each other and some throwing away their weapons. We see Matt wrestling with a Seanchan woman who's tied an invisible leash to him. A wolf that was Perrin fighting a man whose face kept changing. Galad wrapping himself in white. Gawain with his eyes full of pain and hatred, and Marin Alvear weeping. So lots of dreams there.
Yeah.
Now I will say this to you:
Should I remember them all?
every single one of these things happens in the series. Some of them happen in this book.
I was going to ask you about that. If this was foreshadowing of this particular book, or just foreshadowing
in general.
in general.
No, some of them happen in this book, and some of them don't happen until the final book. Right, so there's a lot. There's a lot here to kind of.
This is just Sanderson was just like, oh yeah, we need to.
Maybe.
We need,
Yeah.
we need to write this. We need to use this. No, I mean the thing is that I like this. I think now we're in the fourth book, and I've kind of come to realize that I enjoy the use of the dream world
Yes.
a lot, and the dreams, because it becomes so much more of a the horror flavor that we've discussed before.
I think as well he knows kind of what he wants to do with the dream world now as well. The rules of it are a lot firmer than they used to be.
Yeah.
He's kind of figured out what it is and how it works, and how it interacts with else.
Yeah.
Like that she's walking around this museum and some things are like flickering about because they're not there permanent, but other things are like very solid, like the skeleton of the giraffe is solid because
Mm,
like it's been there since our age, pretty much, like where they found it.
yeah.
Which
I
uh,
mean, do you think he was influenced at all? Because I've been watching the new Twilight Zone, the one that Jordan Peele did for I can't remember what, FX maybe. I don't know. Did you ever watch Twilight Zone?
the original ones I did, yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah. Well, they're the best, really, the original ones. But
yeah,
there it was quite good ones in the new show. Uh, but it feels like he's a little bit influenced in that. There used to be a Rod Serling who did the Twilight Zone used to do a show called The Night Gallery,
yeah,
where he would be in like a museum and then there'd be a painting
yeah,
and then they tell a story around the painting. They did some H.P. Lovecraft stuff
yeah,
in that show, and it harkens back to that. And I like that kind of episodic way of telling the story because what it becomes is it becomes like little scenes that she sees.
yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's good, and I mean, I do like it. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff as well. Anyway, I think this is a good chapter. I mean, the show.
It is a really good chapter, and I think actually up until this part, I realized that I think this book is, yeah, coming from the Dragon Reborn. This is definitely a stronger book.
Yeah, it's like that's why a lot of people think it's the best book in the series, but or one of the best books. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of good stuff that happens in this lot of chapters. I mean, and even in this one, because a lot of the time as well, like so much is happening in these chapters as well. It's
Mm,
not just like one event or anything. Like it's a lot of stuff going on. Like in this one, she has all these dreams. She wishes that someone could train her in the ways
yeah,
properly. And then she appears in the Aiel waste, and there's an Aiel watching her. And then she
yeah,
goes away again, sees who she thinks is Bridget Silverbow watching. And then this Aiel wise woman,
yeah.
which we
Amos,
wise one, Anis, yeah,
yeah.
starts following her and tells her that
She
uh,
needs to go to Cold Rock's hold.
rock holds, yeah, in the threefold land, the Aiel waste, so she can learn properly. And Egwene tells her that she is an Aes Sedai as well, which is a lie.
And
Eli.
she and then I said I can't lie.
Well, she's not. She's not. Yeah,
No, I know, but it's just
but everyone thinks that. Everyone. So like, yeah, she thinks that everything that she's saying is the truth. Uh, yeah, yeah, that's right. Um,
but I like this. I think I agree with you. This is a really strong chapter.
yeah, yeah, it's good.
And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
Robert Jordan continues to tease us because he said we'll find out Rand's news tomorrow, but then he puts another chapter that is not
How
tomorrow.
no? How but how do we know that this isn't happening at the same time?
Because she's just woken up from the dream, isn't she? And she's
That's true. That's
yeah.
true. She would have known the news right then when she woke up.
People would have been talking about the news.
Yes, and so we're in chapter 12. Tanchico or the Tower?
Yes.
It
Which
seems I feel like Tanchico sounds like it would be like a Latin American pop singer.
it always
Tanchico.
reminds me of there's a farm in the Legend of Zelda games called, it's almost like Tanchico village or farm or whatever. And it always just reminds me of that. I just always think of it just being the same world as the Legend of Zelda.
Wouldn't it be fun if it was?
Well, it is because Legend of Zelda existed in this world when we were in our ages.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. So yeah, really, it would be. Yeah, and so Egwene talks to Avienda about this Amos character.
yeah,
And they also discuss sister wives, which is interesting because my wife and I discussed sister wives this morning.
very good.
Yes, but not the
Not in
TV
the
show
same way as
that
not
it's
in the same way as these mean us, but I would presume.
and learns about the whole sister wives thing. Do we want to?
If you want to talk about sister wives, you can. If you want to, it seems like it's something the TV show is going to be very much doubling down on quite a lot because he obviously with Alana and her two warders, they're all
Yeah,
in a polyamorous kind of relationship. It seems like it's something that they're kind of getting people ready for, to kind of be like, this is the way it is in a lot of these societies.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that was somebody, because we were both. I wasn't really part of the event. I just kind of jumped in every once in a while. This fantasy big giveaway book event
Oh yeah,
this weekend, and I saw you picked up. You must have picked up quite a few books.
I did, yeah.
You were you were always. It always was. There was always a comment from you, and I would always check, like, if it said 10 books available, and I'd look how many people have commented.
Yeah.
And if there was already like 17 comments, I was just like, yeah, that's.
Yeah. No, I was there. I got me some books, man. But
Yeah, but I saw that I think they were talking about the advent of inclusive fantasy, that it's a new age, and I think even if people probably haven't, what should I say, haven't like talked about the Wheel of Time before, because I've never in all my years as studying fantasy and as a fantasy scholar, people have never talked about the Wheel of Time as ahead of its time in this
yeah,
sense,
yeah,
for whatever reason. And there probably are other fantasy books from around the time that do the same thing, or a similar thing. But I think the TV show will definitely spearhead a new age of inclusive fantasy.
yeah,
Don't you think?
yeah. I think so. Much to some people's displeasure,
Yeah.
who seem to have missed all of it in the books. Anyway, when they made it more explicit, the relationship between Moiraine and Swan Sanche, there's a lot of people that are like, I've read all of these books, and that was never a thing in the book. It's like, well, it was. They were mentioned as being pillow friends, and a lot of people say they're very close. But also, if you read New Spring, it's quite, which obviously came out years later after the series had started,
Yeah.
where Robert Jordan could probably get away with more things that he wanted to put into the books that he might not be able to do in 1990. And it is very explicit that they were in a relationship with each other at some point in the past, right? So it's all drawn from the books, and it's just because it's there in front of you, it's like it does kind of shock some people. It's that whole thing as well where I've seen like some people be like, oh, it's too violent. And Brandon Sanderson was one of these people saying it's too violent. Some scenes he wouldn't have gone as violent as that, but anyway, but he also said, I feel like Robert Jordan would have felt it was appropriate. I didn't particularly think it was that violent. I thought it was pretty much as violent as what the books were.
Well, as violent. I mean, you also have to remember that. I mean, it would be the same as saying like Lord of the Rings is too violent.
Yeah. But it's
And,
like, if you're going to describe someone getting, and it does happen in the Wheel of Time, someone's described as getting decapitated. It's all right describing that, but when you see it, it's a different
yeah.
thing, right?
Well,
And
I think people.
you can't make someone getting decapitated not look like they're getting decapitated.
No, but then I think you also have to remember that a lot of times, especially in these earlier books, because I can't speak to what the later books have, is that a lot of times Robert Jordan uses euphemisms for what is happening, especially when he's talking about how Rand is fighting,
Yeah,
because Rand is always doing all these moves and calling them certain things, or at least that's what Robert Jordan is giving them the names that he was taught. So like the whole battle aspect of it is kind of lost, because he's using flowery language instead.
yeah,
And I mean, they have to remember that it's not like you're seeing a dancing crane when he's fighting. I mean, that's not what's happening.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, that's just the way it is, and I just think it's like, some people are just when it gets up to I think that's why as well they put that. I mean, obviously, Eye of the World has, out of all the books, it's kind of the least violent, I suppose, in a way, and it's also the least. It's pretty much got no nudity whatsoever in it, I thought,
No,
and especially compared to the other books. And I think that's probably why they put that scene with Moraine meeting Megan in a bathhouse, and so it had a little bit of background nudity, because
yeah,
to get people ready for it, because even now in this chapter when we meet Anis, she's naked in one scenes because that is her society. That's how they are, right? And that kind of thing continues on. So I think the show was doing a good job of that, of putting things in just to say like, and Rafe just can start about that, about how they did a couple of fake out deaths in the last episode where it was like kind of, they're like, listen, we are going to be killing off characters that survived in the books because we can't keep them around or whatever,
No.
just to prepare people for the fact that this is going to happen, right? So I think there's a few things like that that the TV show did really, really well. But yeah, that's it. So so Moraine reveals that she has a letter that was dated a month ago from the Wise One saying to everyone
Yes.
to the Aiel waste. So
Yes.
yeah.
So Aviendamos has to go to Rudian.
Yes, and she isn't very happy about it, and she and Moraine knows why, but she won't tell Egwene why either.
Which is basically what Moraine does. She always knows why.
She always knows. She knows everything, doesn't she? She knows lots of stuff.
So Elaine and Nynaeve will have to go to Tanchico alone.
Yeah, that's the plan at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that plan changes. But
You're being, when you say it like that.
Well, we find out pretty soon anyway in this bit because the next chapter again, even though it says we're going to find out
Tomorrow.
Rand's plan tomorrow, we're back with Matt, and the next two chapters you can kind of just talk about as once because basically we're just catching up with Matt and Perrin. Matt is hanging around, wanting to leave, but can't feel like he can, but is hearing rumors about
White Cloaks
in the Two Rivers. So we check back in with Perrin and Fail have both heard them, and Perrin's like, great, this is the rumor that I needed. If it's true or not, I am going to check it out, and I'm bringing Fail along with me.
Yes, he wants to. Yeah.
Oh no, he doesn't want Fail to come. Actually, doesn't he? He's saying that he wants Fail to stay, doesn't he? And he's going to go and check it out, and she can stay.
Yeah.
And Fail.
Well, doesn't he say that he's going home to die?
Yes, because they think because the rumor is basically they're looking for the golden-eyed guy. Yeah. So yeah.
And then there's a little scene, a little drama between Fail and Berlane.
Yeah, and Perrin's like, yeah, I'm a bit interested. Yeah.
Yeah, because Berlane,
I think.
Berlane.
We'll find out. We might find out in a couple of years.
Yeah, because she's flirting with Perrin because she's given up on Rand.
Yes.
Because he was obviously not interested, and that becomes a problem.
And also May Killer, and he was given a moment, by accident.
Yeah, and then they're about to throw down.
More than just about to,
yeah.
They're well in it, and
then Rourke comes and says, "Nah, not on my watch."
Just pack it in. Stop. It's not happening.
It's like the headmaster comes in when you're fighting in the corridor. It's like
he confiscates their knives as well.
Yeah,
like, you're not having these until I can trust you again with them. It's what I also say to my son sometimes, not with knives, but just other things that I'm not letting you do this, so I can trust that you can do it. Okay.
There will be no dinosaur train until I can trust you.
He does like Dinosaur Train.
Yeah, it's a great show.
He likes singing the song in particular.
Yeah. I like this. I will say these chapters that we're discussing. I well into them because I think this is I mean, obviously it's serious. They're about to kill each other, maybe in like a West Side Story throwdown, but I enjoy the drama and kind of like it becomes like a little bit of a. I mean, sure, it's maybe a little high school style, but I mean, I think there's like a humanity in it, and it adds a bit of realism that I think maybe was missing a little bit.
It's expanding the whole scope And that's what the Shadow Rising does in general. It doesn't just expand the scope in terms of the world and the story, but it does it in terms of the characters as well, because it's exploring what a lot of these characters do that are separate to Rand,
Yeah,
right? So you have some, like obviously Matt wants to leave and he feels like he can't because he feels like he has to stay for something. But Perrin doesn't have that compulsion, so he's like, I need to go and do this now.
yeah,
And his storyline that he's doing has nothing to do with Rand, right? It's all about
yeah.
him. And it's the first time in the series we're actually seeing anything of that. And like this whole thing with Beren and Fael then as well doesn't really have anything to do with Rand either.
No,
And Egwene's storyline to an extent as well there with her going to the Aiel Waste and everything, that is also her own storyline. It's nothing to do with Rand on a surface level or anything like that. And
no.
that's again, it's the first time we're kind of seeing this because everything else so far is tied into Rand and the Dragon Reborn and this and this. So it's nice to see. And then obviously then metaphysically it gets expanded as well because we have more in the world of dreams, but then we also have Matt going through the
Yes.
twisted doorway and getting his questions asked by these weird snake and fox people.
Is that the Aelfin?
Aelfin.
Aelfin. Aelfin, yeah.
So he's
And
heard
they,
about this story that there's a doorway that you can step
yeah,
that you go in there and you have 3 questions and you'll get answers for your questions. So it's it's funny. I don't know how much I can go into. So there's a popular game that's mentioned quite a few times called Snakes and Foxes that children play, and that is based on these people basically, right? in this thing. But you'll see as it starts going on, this thing keeps coming back, and something that we saw just that's mentioned in one line in the first book when the boys are on Matt and Rand and Tom are on Bail Damon's boat.
yeah,
Back into play with all this, and it's this metaphysical kind of thing that you have, like the real world, and then you have the world of dreams, and then you have this reality where these Aelfin and Elfin are, and then you have the portal stones as well, which is like a link between all of them. So all that kind of stuff gets expanded on as well in this book. So, but Matt has heard rumors about this, that there's going to be creatures that he's going to ask 3 questions, and there's rules. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons quest. They're not allowed to make light or no iron or music. And this is like a snake kind of person that he finds. And he is told by them when he asked if he should go home that he needs to go to Rudian.
Rudian, or he will die.
Or he will die. And then a bell sounds, meaning someone else has entered, and they're trying to rush him through his questions. So he gets angry about something and asks why he needs to go to Rudian. That's the second one. Then he asks like he's going to die. Then it tolls again. So the third person coming into the thing, and he forgets completely what his third question was and asks why he will die if he does not go to Rudian. And they say he sidesteps his fate, will be killed by those who don't watch his fate to be fulfilled. And then the snake battle sounds again, and they're all kind of like, "Get out of here!" And then he asks the fourth question, which is against rules: "What is his fate?" And they reply, "To marry the daughter of the 9 moons, to die and live again, and live once more a part of what was, and to give up half the light of the world to save the world." So lots of development from that, lots of things. And
Do you think Robert Jordan liked Matt better
well,
at this stage?
I think so. I think he just gives him a reboot of a character in Dragon Reborn, doesn't he? I think he had a really good time writing him in the Dragon Reborn. I think as most people enjoy reading him in the Dragon Reborn, and just thought, you know what, I'm just going to give him loads more to do.
Yeah.
Which
Like,
happens. You know that yourself as when you're writing something.
yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I'm writing the sequel to Sawtooth Shadow at the minute. It was called Path of War, and there was one character that I was just going to do like one scene with, and I ended up spending 3 or 4 chapters with them, and they're going to be back at the end of the book because I knew what their role was, but then I'm actually going to make them even a bigger part of the third book because I just enjoy writing them that much, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Matt is hurried out and finds out that Rand and Moraine were also inside, and that's why he was hurried out.
Yeah, they were all in
But
there.
they don't. He wants to know what they were doing in there. What did
Yeah,
they find out?
and Rand's presence was nearly making the whole place collapse as
Yeah.
well.
Well, they refused to at least tell him.
Yeah, you don't, you find out kind of what you find out a few things that Rand asked for. I think one of them you don't actually ever find out, and I don't even know if Brandon Sanderson knows it. I think it was one of the things that was been. Oh, no, he does know it, but he's not allowed to say. It's one of these things that has to remain secret, I think. And you find out what Moraine asked for in a very kind of roundabout way at some point. But again, these are things that are not going to be explained for the rest of the series.
Eons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we come to the last chapter that we're going to talk about, which is a chapter name that we have seen before. Leave
But
Take.
before you do that,
Oh,
though, Rand is asking about how Matt knew about the thing, and he said, "Well, because I read it." And Rand was like, "Well, I needed an interpreter because it's in the old tongue, right?" And so, and then so it's, you know, he's starting to figure out that Matt can speak the old tongue and knows it quite well. And then Moraine says that you can't go in twice, but she won't say why you can't go in twice. Yes, that's important to remember.
Okay, because I think that Matt, being Matt, he'll probably go in twice anyway. That's what he does. It seems like leave takings.
Yes, we have heard this. This before.
I think it's been. I would propose that it's been in every single book so far.
Maybe. And the name of the first episode was a TV show as well.
Yeah, exactly. And here we have Perrin again, and this time he talks to Loyal. He wants to go home, and he wants to take the ways.
Yes.
But Fail is there instead.
Yep.
Well,
Fail is
there before him.
She's going as Loyal's guest.
Yeah.
And this is, I enjoy this dynamic though. I enjoy this thing between like Loyal is like stuck in between these two, and he just wants to be. He's just like, why can't you just get along with each other? What?
Well, Fail has made Loyal promise to take her through the ways before anyone else too.
Yeah, that's right. She is going. So she's really kind of. She allows Perrin and the rest and people following Perrin, Gaul, and everyone else along as her guest, but they have to stay away from each of them, and they have to camp in a different place and all this kind of stuff. So again, this is the thing, right? If you don't mind this kind of thing with Fail and it doesn't grate on you, then you won't mind it. But a lot of people, this kind of stuff really annoys.
But I like it because I think because I dislike Perrin so much. I like anyone who kind of gets into it with him.
Yeah. So Elaine and Eve are again ready to go to Chico to the waste, and Marines give him a load of gold. Then Lan comes in and he loses his shit with Eve, and Eve is like, "Get a grip, mate. You're not coming with me. You have to go this way." And he gives her a right good kissing.
Yep. Yeah. It's like that. This is what you get.
Yeah. He loves it. He loves. He loves a strong woman standing up. That's what he loves.
The Spitfire.
Yeah, that's what he's into. I have to say as well, because that's the end of this, the chapter really, like Elaine's kind of like, I'm going to write Brandon another letter now because I've seen this example of Nynaeve being
Yeah.
like setting down the law and everything. I have to say that I think they did a really, really good job with Nynaeve's character in the TV series.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
Because
I agree.
a lot of people really don't like her in the Eye of the World
No.
at all, especially first time people. And I think she was a lot more rounded, I suppose. Like she wasn't just angry all the time. And in the books, you realize you start to see where that anger is coming from with Nynaeve, and it's handled quite well eventually. But in the TV show, they made her a lot more rounded from the off, I feel.
Yeah. And basically now we're at the precipice of everybody kind of like leaving in their own directions, or they basically already have.
They're about to, but no one's heard Rand's news yet.
No.
So that is, they can't leave without hearing Rand's news, can they?
No.
Can they? Some of them might. Perrin might.
They'll be just like, yeah, it's probably not that important.
Yeah, well, Perrin's got his own. He's got his own test.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting because with Perrin here is that like Matt has already kind of like broken with Rand, like his dependency on Rand.
Perrin's dependency, you mean?
No, but I'm thinking right now. I'm talking about Matt. Matt broke with Rand already in the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
And now it's Perrin's turn to start.
That was Perrin's turn. Yeah. See, that's the way it is. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that because it felt like they were also dependent on him, even when he wasn't the dragon.
Yeah.
You know, we see it as we see Rand as some type of, even though he's naive, he somehow seen as some kind of leader in the Eye of the World. They're kind of like dependent on him.
Yeah.
But now it feels,
which is different in the series as well, because he's kind of just there as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's because I mean, again, it's that thing where Robert Jordan didn't really have much interest in hiding that the book was about Rand and he was a Dragon Reborn, whereas the TV show did. So it's good, and it's good how like it depends on who Rand needs the most at any one point. That person finds it hard to get away from him, right? So he doesn't need Perrin right now. Who does, frankly? No.
well, not Fail.
I know a lot of people like Perrin. So Rand doesn't need Perrin right now. So that's why Perrin doesn't have this compulsion to stay. Whereas Matt is needed. Needed.
He can't leave
for whatever reason. He is needed.
Yeah. Well, I like these chapters. I think I'm getting into this book. I'm finding it easy to read, and not as much of a slog as I found the Dragon Reborn to be.
Yeah, that's the Dragon Reborn for you.
Yeah. Should have skipped that book.
Seems like the TV show is pretty much just cherry picking the things from it that are.
Well, it is kind of fun because it seems like Matt, as we spoke about last time, that Matt is more of the character he is, coming out of the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
Already in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah, and I think a few of the characters are like that. They've given him a little bit more than. I mean, in the book, Eye of the World, Matt and Perrin are basically Pippin and Merry, but they're just there along for the ride, right? They're just there to just. So Rand isn't the one asking every single question all the time, like why is this like this? Why is this that way? There's another couple of people to ask those questions and to get exposition told to them. That's basically it. And they have so it's good to develop them all a little bit more. But no, we'll be back with more Shadow Rising next time.
Yes. David, any news coming out of Casa Green?
No, not much really. just working on some sequels, working on sequel to In Solitude Shadow, which is out in June. It's probably going to be about 120,000 words, which is double the In Solitude Shadow, but kind of I'm about 90,000 words into it now, so I'm coming close to the end. I should hope to finish it by February. And then I'll be doing a couple of sequels to Nick Halloran on the bounce. So I'll be writing book 4 and 5 in 3 and 4 in quick succession. Cool. How about yourself?
Yeah, I've my novella, I guess you would call it, These Walls Will Fall, is out right now. It's a dystopian noir story taking place in a very ambiguous future after an event called the storm or the hurricane, depending on where you are, where an oppressive government has taken over, and people, LGBTQ and other people, have been sent to the boroughs, neighborhoods where they live, and it's about a detective that has to deal with being, unofficial, but at the same time dealing with the oppression at the same time. So this is actually, it's part of a longer series, or more books are going to come out. And January 31st, I think, is the date. My science fiction tech noir story, All the Children Shall Lead, will be coming from Black Ink Fiction.
Good.
And then I have Soldier Song in March.
Yeah, a lot busy time.
Busy time. Luckily, it's just the editing left, I guess, of Soldier Song. The other ones are already out and written.
Yeah, very good, excellent. Well, that is it's like the opposite of me, where I like to do everything in the summer by the sounds of it, and you like to do that here. But that's the way. We leave the end of the year free.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, and we'll probably return with where we discuss the show as it was and what we thought of it and stuff like that. We've already talked a bunch about it, but there's a lot more to be said about the TV show. No, it was all we're all.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. The good, the bad, and the fugly.
Yeah. So for David Green, I'm Chris Mary Holtman, and what do we usually say?
I can't remember. Until the next turning of the wheel.
Exactly.